How far can a lie go before it completely takes over someone's life? What happens when a person builds an entire story around something that is not real? And how could a fake pregnancy lead to one of the most disturbing crimes in recent memory? This is the tragic story of Taylor Parker, a woman whose secret pregnancy slowly grew bigger until it ended in an unimaginable crime. For months, Parker convinced people around her that she was expecting a baby. She shared the news, talked about her future child, and even celebrated the coming birth with friends and family. But behind that story was a dark truth that shocked everyone who learned what happened. This case is not only about a terrible crime. It is also about the warning signs people missed, the people who lost their lives, and the questions that remain after such a heartbreaking event. The pregnancy lie that fooled everyone. Before the crime happened, Taylor Parker had spent months creating a false image of being a pregnant mother. She told people close to her that she was expecting a baby and acted as if everything was normal. She wore a fake baby bump and continued the story with confidence. She shared updates, talked about the baby, and made others believe that a new child was about to enter her life. For many people around her, there was no reason to believe the pregnancy was fake. She was able to keep the story alive for a long time, earning the trust of the people around her in what she was saying. Parker even held a gender reveal event where friends and family celebrated the baby she claimed she was carrying. To the people attending, it looked like a happy moment. They believed they were celebrating a new beginning. But behind the smiles and excitement, something much darker was happening. The investigation later showed that Parker had been hiding the truth from almost everyone around her. The pregnancy was not real, and the baby she talked about was not coming. As the time of the supposed birth got closer, the pressure of keeping the lie alive continued to grow. And this is where the case took a shocking turn. A friendship that ended in tragedy. The victim in this case was Reagan Simmons Hancock, a young mother who was expecting a child. Reagan was known by people close to her as a caring person who loved her family. According to investigators, Parker targeted Reagan because of the pregnancy she was carrying. Prosecutors said Parker wanted a baby and created a plan that would lead to a horrifying attack. The crime scene shocked investigators because it showed that this was not a random event. Evidence suggested that Parker came prepared and had planned what she would do. Reagan's death left her family and friends devastated. A person who was preparing to welcome a new child suddenly lost her life in a crime that nobody expected. The tragedy became even more painful because Reagan's unborn baby was also lost. The case quickly gained attention because of the unusual details surrounding the fake pregnancy and the reason investigators believe Parker committed the crime. The investigation begins. After the crime, investigators began working to understand what happened and why. Parker was later stopped by police while traveling. During that encounter, she gave a story claiming that she had given birth during the trip. However, her story quickly raised questions. The details did not match what investigators were finding. Police began looking deeper into her claims, and the truth started coming out. The evidence showed that Parker had not given birth. Instead, investigators connected her to the death of Reagan Simmons Hancock. As detectives continued their work, they discovered more details about the planning behind the crime. The investigation revealed that Parker had brought items with her before going to Reagan's home. Prosecutors argued that these details showed the crime was planned in advance. Slowly, the story that Parker created began to fall apart. The evidence that revealed the truth. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence that showed how the crime happened and how Parker tried to continue her pregnancy story afterward. One of the biggest questions people had was how Parker was able to maintain the lie for so long. The trial revealed that Parker controlled many parts of the story. She gave explanations for things that did not seem right and created reasons why people should not question her pregnancy. Her boyfriend, Wade Griffin, later testified about their relationship. He explained that he had some doubts but trusted Parker because she kept reassuring him. Parker created situations that made it harder for others to see the truth. She controlled what people knew and kept the story going until the end. But investigators found evidence linking her to the crime. The truth that Parker tried to hide eventually became impossible to ignore. The trial and the questions around her actions. When Taylor Parker went on trial, the case received major attention because of the shocking details presented in court. Prosecutors described a crime that was carefully planned. They argued that Parker's actions were not the result of a sudden decision, but something she had thought about before it happened. The defense tried to explain Parker's mental state and the issues in her life. They argued that there were serious problems that needed to be considered. The jury heard testimony from family members, investigators, and people who knew Parker. They learned about her past, her relationships, and the events leading up to the crime. The trial was emotional for everyone involved, especially Reagan's family, who had to hear painful details about the loss of their loved one. After hearing all the evidence, the jury reached a decision. The hidden details from the case. Many details from the investigation were difficult for the public to understand. One major question was how Parker's fake pregnancy continued without being discovered earlier. People close to her later explained that Parker was very serious about protecting the lie. She gave answers whenever someone questioned her and found ways to avoid situations that could reveal the truth. Another disturbing part of the case involved conversations after the crime. Prosecutors presented evidence that they believed showed Parker did not react like someone who understood the full seriousness of what had happened. These details played an important role during the trial because they helped the jury understand Parker's actions and mindset. The case showed how a simple lie can grow larger and larger until it leads to terrible consequences. The impact on Reagan's family. While much of the attention focused on Taylor Parker, the biggest loss was suffered by Reagan Simmons Hancock's family. Reagan was not just a victim in a news story. She was a daughter, a mother, and a person loved by many. Her family had to deal with a loss that no family should ever experience. They lost Reagan, and they also lost the child she was preparing to welcome into the world. During the trial, Reagan's loved ones shared their pain and talked about the person she was. They wanted people to remember Reagan as more than just a victim. They wanted her life, kindness, and love for her family to be remembered. The final decision in the case. After the trial, Taylor Parker was found guilty of the crimes connected to the death of Reagan Simmons Hancock and her unborn child. The court later sentenced Parker to death. The decision brought a legal ending to the case, but for Reagan's family, the pain did not simply disappear. Cases like this leave many emotional questions unanswered. They leave families trying to understand how something so terrible could happen. The punishment may close one part of the story, but the memories of those who were lost remain with their loved ones forever. The lessons from a tragic case. The Taylor Parker case remains one of the most shocking examples of how a false story can grow into something dangerous. It shows how important it is to pay attention when someone's behavior changes or when something does not feel right. It also reminds people that behind every crime story are real families who suffer because of someone else's actions. Reagan Simmons Hancock's life was taken away far too soon, and her family continues to carry that loss. This case will continue to be remembered not because of the person who committed the crime, but because of the lives that were destroyed and the questions it raised about trust, lies, and human behavior. If you found this case interesting and want to hear more true crime stories explained in a simple way, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos.